Time to get serious, bro. No more joking around. As NFL season starts tomorrow. I'm sorry. I had to come in on here all serious because the last Dolphins video I dropped was really just a nonsense, let's get hype win-loss prediction where I had them at 12-5, but really 13-4 because I can't count. And some people got mad because I guess my analysis sucked. It was a completely homer, like 100% homer biased video that was just meant to have some fun, and hey, it performed really well, so I think people enjoyed it. But today, I kind of wanted to give more of my actual thoughts on the whole team. We'll kind of be going through the whole roster, at least the depth chart according to ESPN, and I'll give my quick thoughts on the player if I have them, and skip them if I have no opinion towards them. By the way, do y'all like the shirt? I just realized that I put this on for the video. If y'all do, shout out Fins for Life, aka Miami Dolphins Bandits on Twitter. They can hook you up. I got a couple shirts for them. Now, this is not sponsored, but it can be. Hit me up, Fins for Life. Anyways, starting with the most polarizing guy in likely Miami sports, maybe outside of Tyler Hero, is Tua Tagovailoa. I've been saying for 2 years now that this is the year he proves everyone wrong. So I guess that doesn't necessarily make me correct if I've been saying that for 2 years. But last year, I grade him an incomplete because when he played, he looked like one of the most dominant players in football, or at least led one of the most dominant offenses. I think we can all agree on that. So I see no reason to believe that that's still a guy who's very young. He should theoretically improve every single season. I don't see any reason why he won't be better this year, especially with, I was going to say some more weapons, even though they really didn't change that much. Maybe a healthier O-line, and reality is still the same guard. But outside of all that, just being a young guy, human nature is to get better, especially for someone who works as hard as he is, which that has never been a debate. Now, the biggest concern is the injuries. I don't have to say it. Now, I don't know if it's a good thing that most of the injuries throughout his career have been different. You had the ribs 1 year because of Jesse Davis. You had the finger, and then obviously last year you had the 3 concussions. So there was some repeats last year, but every year it seems to be a different thing. Now, some people may look at that and say, hey, that's very bad because he's just hurt everywhere. That's called being injury prone. But other people may say, hey, it's not like he has a bum knee. It's not like he has a bum knee that can't ever get better. It seems like it could be a lot of freak injuries. If Jesse Davis wasn't a trash can, Tua's ribs never break. If Tua never so happens to get hit in the wrong way, he doesn't get concussed 3 times. I'm going into this season just praying for the best, but obviously, if he was to get injured, it's more than a coincidence at this point. Some people may already say that, but if he was to get injured again, you may have to just cut your losses on Tua Tagovailoa. But I don't want to speculate on injuries because we'll see what happens. I feel like talking about it anymore is just stating the obvious. But as far as his talents, I have the utmost belief in him. And he really just seems like one of the nicest guys, one of the best guys that you can have in your locker room, which people may not care about. But I think as a captain on a football team, I think that goes a long way. I'm watching Ted Lasso right now, and part of the reason that's successful is because they got a bunch of nice guys that work well together. I understand that's a show, but I do think it's important that you have a leader who guys want to play for, and it's very clear guys want to play for Tua Tagovailoa. As far as the backups, Mike White, got no thoughts on. Skylar Thompson, you look like you could sling it your rookie season in the preseason, and then you went nowhere with that, and you played 10 minutes scared, and you're not all that good. So if Tua was to get hurt, they're not in great shape. The running back position, Raheem Mostert, obviously after all this offseason talk about Dalvin Cook and Jonathan Taylor, it really seems like Raheem Mostert has the utmost chip on his shoulder, as he should. Now, he's a guy that even going into last year, I expected to be solid. He's certainly better than everything the Dolphins had the previous few years with, in my opinion, Myles Gaskin, and of course, guys like Kalen Ballage, who's a bum. But anyways, he was fine. He obviously had his injury concerns as well. And as a guy who's a little bit older, he's on the wrong side of 30. That's not something that you technically love to see. But hey, same thing. If he stays healthy, I think he fits this offense very well. I love how fast the offense is. And as one of the fastest guys in the NFL, along with who they have as his third string backup, Devon Achane, he fits into this offense perfectly. And of course, I guess Jeff Wilson will probably slide into the number 2 spot once he comes back. They're looking like he may be a couple weeks to a month at most out. And I can't wait to get Jeff Wilson back because he's that guy that can really get you the tough 1 yard. Wide receiver positions, Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Waddle, in my opinion, best wide receiver duo in the league. People may argue and say some other teams like the I can't remember their name, the Bengals. See, I don't care about them. Now, obviously, they have all of an argument, and me saying they're the best receiving core in the NFL may be slightly biased, but there's a million numbers I could pull up to prove it. Love both of those guys. Again, fit with the offense built off of speed, and I think they're going to terrorize the NFL. Don't really need to say more about it. They currently have Braxton Berrios as the number 3 tight end. Of course, I love him just because he's from the U, and finally glad to get him off of the Jets. They got Cedric Wilson as his backup. Probably the worst free agent signing they've had in a few years, but hey, he provides some insurance at the position. Worst case scenario, maybe we finally get to see some Easy E Eric Ezukama as well, because of course he's shown flashes. Tight end spot, Durham Smythe. I did like Mike Gesicki a lot. I never understood why they didn't treat him more as a tight end and maybe play a 2 tight end set with Gesicki and Durham Smythe. Obviously, Mike McDaniel didn't want to do that, but he fits the scheme perfectly because he can pass catch a little bit and block. And then the rest of the guys, I certainly don't care about. Ali Ingold just got severely overpaid, but hey, I think he had a solid year last year. I like his dual threat ability to run the ball and catch the ball at the fullback position. Moving on to the most concerning part of likely the entire team, the offensive line, and even more specific on that is Teron Armstead and his health. This team needs Teron Armstead. There was a tangible difference last year when he was on and not on the field, and I was scared for Tua's life when he wasn't out there. It's looking like he's currently questionable for game 1. He may or may not play. They named like 3 different things on the injury report, like knee, ankle, back. It doesn't look great, especially considering the season didn't even start yet, but maybe those are small things. I'm praying for his health. I'm praying he could play at least 13, 14 games. And when he does, he's obviously very effective. Unlike Liam Eichenberg, who I think is a bum. And Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, he's fine. And Austin Jackson, you better show me something this year, because you haven't before. They spent a high draft pick on you. And if Tua doesn't work out and you don't work out, well, your 3 first-round picks that year, including those 2 and Noah Igbenogany, were complete, what's the word? Complete scrubs. Not scrubs, bust. They were bust. Don't bust on those 3 first-round picks, Chris Greer. You got to hit at least one of them, preferably the quarterback. But enough on Tua. We talked enough about him. Moving on to the defense, who's now led by Vic Fangio. Everyone is hoping that he can fix all the issues they had last year. Maybe. The only thing I know about Vic Fangio is what everyone has said. Obviously, he's been in the game a long time. He's well respected. So, yeah, I hope he can take the talent on this roster and turn it into something, because I think they have a ton of talent. Starting with Christian Wilkins. Love him. He's my favorite player on the team, obviously a little bit because of his personality, but I just think he's awesome. He's a complete unicorn at the position. The way he could sprint and tackle guys downfield, the way he beats the offensive lineman and can get to his guy, typically the rusher or someone catching the ball, because he only had 3.5 sacks last year, the same as Zach Sealer, which is part of the reason I'm guessing Christian Wilkins hasn't got paid what he wanted from the Miami Dolphins, because his sack numbers aren't great. But I do love Wilkins. I'm glad to hear that he's all in on this season and he's willing to put aside the differences in contract negotiation to play for this team. And he said he wants to be here. Maybe not the best negotiation tactic. He actually said nobody wants to be in Miami more than him. So not a great negotiation tactic, but I love you for it, Christian Wilkins. Raekwon Davis, another guy that I think is very solid. Zach Sealer, I love him. Probably my second favorite player on the team. I mean, when he had that strip sack on Josh Allen last year that led to the touchdown, one of the most exciting moments I've had as a Dolphins fan in my entire life, which may be sad, but hey, I'm 25 years old, not including when I was a baby. They've made the playoffs like 3 times, and it's really the only exciting moment we got in any of those games. So, love Zach Sealer. Think he's a great player. I was a big fan of Agba, too. Of course, the year before he had like 9 sacks or something crazy, but last year wasn't great. Got hurt. Hoping that he's healthy and can bounce back and have some sort of impact. Jalen Phillips, a guy that seems to be getting better. One of those guys that seems to be getting better every week, every month, every year. I'm looking for him to have a big year. Everything you're hearing about him is very positive. The one thing I noticed watching Jalen Phillips, though, he seems to be always be the guy that jumps on the pile last. Like it's always somebody else making the play, and he's just in the vicinity, kind of laying on the job that was already done, and he really didn't have that much involved with it. But that being said, he does have his handful of really big plays that he's made. So I like him. Of course, another boy from the U. So I am looking forward to him the rest of the season. Although I'm not sure he's better than Von Ginkel. I feel like Von Ginkel's got a lot of disrespect over the last few years. I feel like I can instantly think of like 3 or 4 insanely huge game-changing plays that he's made in his Dolphins tenure. But for some reason, they keep him at the backup spot. I don't know why. Maybe it's the hair, but I'm a big fan of Van Ginkel. But regardless, I get Jalen Phillips if he is started, but both those guys will get some snaps, so it'll all be okay. David Long Jr., supposedly he's very good. That's all I know about him. So we'll see if the Titans fans were trying to bamboozle us or if he can make an impact, because, hey, I think they could use him. Jerome Baker, I really like him a lot. I feel like he's as solid as it gets. Same thing with Duke Riley. He's made a couple plays in his career. I remember Duke Riley had a strip sack touchdown versus the Panthers at a game I went to. So both those guys are pretty solid, and I don't have any fears about that position right there. But Bradley Chubb, let me tell you something, Bradley Chubb. You're on notice. The Dolphins traded a first-round pick and then signed you to a max 5-year extension right after that, and you had almost as many sacks as I did. I was told that you were this great, worth of first-round pick talent, that in this system you'd be able to get a ton of sacks and put a ton of pressure on the quarterback, so hopefully guys like Xavien Howard and Jaylen Waddle could get a lot of picks all over the field, and I didn't see it. Now, it wasn't a full year. Of course, we got you at the trade deadline last year, but hey, I'm not impressed, buddy. You're on notice. Anyways, Xavien Howard at the cornerback spot. Now, I hope he's healthy. There's no doubt about it. When he's healthy, he's one of the best in the game. Last year, he wasn't great. I felt like he got beat a lot, which was weird to see. Now, he's earned enough stock with me over the years that I wasn't super mad at him because we know what he provides to the table. But my biggest concern is that he is not digressing because of his age. This is a bad injury year, and he'll bounce back this year. Of course, if guys like David Long Jr. and Christian Wilkins and Bradley Chubb could put a lot of pressure on more of the interior defense side on the line, it should help guys like Xavien Howard. Not to mention when Jalen Ramsey sounds like he'll come back maybe November, I heard today. But definitely by December is what it's looking like. Obviously, having another elite corner, that should help Xavien Howard too. So for all of those reasons, I am hopeful. Eli Apple, I don't think he makes it the full season on this roster. He's been a bum, and now he's got all those drama with his baby mama. Baby mama, I got bars. If you didn't see it, basically she put out a hit for him saying if you're out there and you play against Eli Apple, injure him. Seems like a very messy situation, and I don't like what's going on there. But maybe I shouldn't hold that against him. I just don't think he's a good player. Brandon Jones. You also saw a tangible difference last year when Brandon Jones went down with injury. Of course, he missed the rest of the year. I forgot what happened, whether it was his knee or something, but he's another guy that young. I think he will be, he's improving every year as well. I really, really like him a lot. And again, so far going down this list, every single player I named has been, I feel like, is a really, really solid player, I guess, outside of Bradley Chubb. But he fits right into that mold. Now, Jaylen Waddle, at the free safety spot, he seems like maybe he can be above solid. Doesn't get a lot of picks, but you always feel like he's active. You always feel like he's out there making a play. And I love the Snowman. And again, another young, very good defender. And then, of course, that applies to Kato Kohu, too. The undrafted cornerback who really stepped up when everyone got hurt last year because they could have been screwed really bad. If they didn't have Kato Kohu, you would have got even more snaps for guys like Keon Crossing, they should call him Keon Holden, because the amount of times this man was holding his offensive player was abysmal. I think he's a bum. I'm glad he's off this team. And also they have Cam Smith as the second string here. I hope he's good, because y'all know the last time they drafted a cornerback early on was Noah Igben active, and I'm not a fan of his. So hey, Cam Smith, I mean, the bar was set low. I'm assuming you're better than that. And I guess Nick Needham is out. I actually forgot about him, but I don't know what his injury concern is. But when he's back, he's another defender that I think is really, really solid. Now, the only special teams guy that I want to talk about here is Jason Sanders. Like Bradley Chubb, you're on notice. A couple years ago, loved you. Seemed like you couldn't miss. And then last year, every time you had a field goal that was over 42 yards, you were out there looking like me. I don't know what the issue is. I don't know if you were a fat cat, you got your bag, and then you couldn't kick. I don't know. Maybe you were nervous. Maybe it got in your head. Who's for me to say? That's why all I'm going to say is you're on notice. If you underperform this year like you did last year, I'll be looking for them to somehow find a way to move that contract, which I'm sure they could do. But hey, that's essentially the whole Miami Dolphins roster. You also got my guy, Mike McDaniel, who I am a fan of as a coach. He had his faults last year, mainly no one had to call timeout and getting his plays on in time. But I think that's something that a young coach will learn from. So obviously I'm willing to give him another year or two to see if he learns. And if I don't see any improvement in those areas, that's when I'll start to be concerned. But I just like a coach who takes chances, and I feel like he plays to win. My whole life, you had all these bum Dolphins and Miami Hurricanes coaches who I felt like coached not to lose. They coached scared, and that's exactly how you lose. Most of the time, both the roster sucked for the Canes and the Dolphins. So if you know your team sucks, why are you punting on 3rd and inches? Go for it. You're going to lose your job anyways. And that's the thing I like about Mike McDaniel. He doesn't seem to be scared. And again, he seems to be a player's coach and a guy that the players will play hard for. Same thing with Brian Flores, by the way, which is why I really love Brian Flores. And I was not a happy guy when they let him go. But I do like Mike McDaniel at least. So I will say that. So I hope this was a more... I hope that more people approve of this more serious analysis of my Dolphins take instead of just screaming fins to the left, fins to the right, Tua for an MVP, because I might do some of that this year too. But I hope y'all enjoyed the Dolphins content. Of course, we'll continue to talk all things Miami sports and maybe some more NFL, NBA, of course, with Damian Lillard and the Miami Heat. So make sure y'all leave a like, subscribe if you enjoy, leave a comment down below, and I'll pick some of my favorite comments and maybe shout y'all out next video. But until then, I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.
Look, pull up in your city tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.